Looks like we do have everyone can hear us on the line today, which is really great. We've got some people telling us where they're at. We've got someone that just said that they're in Baltimore, which is cool. I visited Baltimore for the first time in January. It was nice. I enjoyed it. So nice to have you all on the line from different places across the country and possibly the globe today. Again, this is part one of the new Getting Acquainted series. And this one is determining which QuickBooks Online is right for your clients. My name is Katie Peterson. I own Peterson Business Services over here in Vancouver, Washington. That's right over the river from Portland, Oregon. So Vancouver, not Canada. Washington, not the capital of our country. I'm also a co-author of the QuickBooks Online certification, a member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network, where we get to teach our peers awesome things about QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online and various things about the industry. I'm a student teacher at schoolofbookkeeping.com, where I host a live chat Q&A on Mondays. And my business specializes in business process, third-party app implementation, and industry-specific solutions and training. If you have not already downloaded the course materials for today, you can look in your chat or questions window and see a link to where you can download the PDFs from Hightail. There's a nice little link there. It's a bit.ly Getting Acquainted Part 1, and that will give you the deck for today's webinar so that you can take notes or have those materials for references later. Our course today is eligible for 1 CPE credit. To receive your credit, you must stay for the entire webinar. We will give you a CPE keyword during the webinar that you will submit at the end of the webinar, which will make you eligible for the CPE credit. CPE certificates will be emailed to you within 2 weeks, and please note that your CPE certificate will be sent to you at the email address that you used to register for today's webinar. Here are our learning objectives for today. Our goal is to be able to determine the needs of our clients when selecting QuickBooks Online systems. We want to understand the different versions of QuickBooks Online, discover some apps that are available to work with QuickBooks Online, and identify when QuickBooks Online may not be the right answer for a client. So let's jump in and just start talking about some differences between QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Online Accountant. So we have QBOA and QBO. Now, if you're an existing QuickBooks Online Accountant user and you have not seen this screen that you're seeing here with the green toolbar across the top, this is the 3rd generation of QuickBooks Online Accountant. So if you were an existing user prior to December of last year, you may not have this new system yet. Everyone is being upgraded, and the goal is to have everyone upgraded by June as their timeline. So as accounting professionals, we should all be accessing our client companies through QuickBooks Online Accountant. Again, if you haven't seen this and you're not familiar with this 3rd generation, be sure to check out the What's New in QBOA and the Pro Advisor Program webinar that's available on Intuit Academy. Again, the newer QBOA users will automatically be put on this platform, but those existing users prior to 12.1 may not have been migrated yet. All right, so let's keep going here. So once again, accountants and bookkeepers should be logging in using QBOA, whether you're on the 2nd generation, which is all blue and black, or the 3rd generation with the green toolbar. QBOA gives us, as accounting professionals, many helpful tools for analyzing, troubleshooting, and maintaining client data. Some of the features in QuickBooks Online Accountant are reclassify transactions, undo bank reconciliation, write off invoices, and a pre-canned batch of accountant reports. QBOA also allows us to manage our own team and their access into our client companies. Our clients, on the other hand, subscribe to and log in through QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online Accountant is a window or portal for us to see into our clients' QBO companies. Once we are in the client company, we are still restricted to the features available on that subscription level. So you can see here on this slide, we've got QBOA, which is our window into QuickBooks Online. Once we're in QuickBooks Online, we have access to our accountant tools, but we're still subject to the client subscription level, whether they're on Simple Start, Essentials, or Plus. So it's not like if you're an existing desktop user and you can use QuickBooks Premier Accountant for desktop and toggle to different editions. QuickBooks Online Accountant, you're still subject to the tools that are available in each one of those subscription levels. And today you'll learn all about the differences between those three. So QBOA is basically like your accountant tool belt that you put on to go into the different QuickBooks Online companies that your clients have. Okay, so let's look at some initial considerations. Our first consideration when we're choosing a subscription level for our client is the number of users. All three levels of QuickBooks Online allow for 2 accountant users. For example, maybe the bookkeeper and the tax preparer. Simple Start includes 1 company user. Essentials includes 3 company users, and Plus includes 5 company users. QuickBooks Online Plus has some additional user functionality, so you can add unlimited time tracking only users, as well as unlimited reports only users, and you can even purchase up to 20 additional users for a total of 25 company users. So Plus comes with 5 for the regular price. You can add up to 20 more so that you have 25 company users that you can customize permissions for. The unlimited reports only users are only able to run reports and can't actually touch any transactions. And then the unlimited time tracking users are users that only have access to a time card. And we'll talk more about that as we dive into each subscription level. There are many areas to look at when completing a comprehensive needs assessment for your client. The first step to selecting the right QuickBooks Online product is to know the differences between each subscription level. After that, you need to know the specifics of the features so that you can evaluate the need for third-party products and add-ons. For example, you might choose QuickBooks Online Plus at a glance for the inventory feature, but later realize that your client needs LIFO inventory, which is last in, first out, which QBO Plus does not support at this time. Here you would need to find a third-party inventory solution, and then you may be able to put your client on QBO Essentials for a lower price. So we'll look at some different areas to evaluate during a needs assessment. Here we've got the accounting system, which is the hub, right? So that is potentially your QuickBooks Online subscription. And then branching off of that accounting system, we've got different areas like your admin and IT. So do you need to be hosted in the cloud? Do you need mobile access? Do you need mobile access to a cloud-hosted document storage system? We've got sales and AR. So how does this client do their marketing? How are they invoicing? Do they need a point-of-sale system? Do they have an e-commerce website for web sales? And if they have all of those things, how do we have that talk back to the accounting system? Now, how do they accept payments? How do they manage their customer data? Maybe they have a cloud-hosted CRM, which stands for Customer Relationship Manager. I believe that's what that stands for. And they want all of that customer data to sync back to the accounting system. So you need to look at that relationship and how is your accounting system going to help your marketing and sales team for your client. Purchases and payables, are they using something like Bill.com? Should they be using something like Bill.com? Do they have how are they tracking expenses? Are they turning in paper expense reports? Or can you hook them up with something like Expensify or Receipt Bank or Tally or one of those third-party apps that will help streamline the process of recording expenses and then sync back to the accounting system? We have basic operations like inventory. We just talked about LIFO and FIFO inventory. Things like job costing. Maybe they are a contractor and they need more detailed job costing than QuickBooks Online can offer. So maybe you need to look at how would QuickBooks Online talk to something like Builder Trend, which is a contractor-specific third-party app that manages tons of things, including job costing. Or maybe they're a service company and they need help with scheduling appointments and managing their technicians. So maybe you can implement a third-party solution like Jobber. To do that, you need to understand how does Jobber work and how does Jobber talk back to QuickBooks Online. So what level of QuickBooks Online do you need? There are many options for human resources. So QuickBooks Online has QuickBooks Online Payroll that's built into it. We also just talked about those time tracking users. So does QuickBooks Online support your needs internally as far as tracking time and running payroll? Or do you also need to look at a third-party system that can help support that? There are many add-ons for financial reporting and KPIs. So understanding the reporting features in each version, then that will help you decide, does QuickBooks Online support my reporting needs for the subscription level that I have, or do I need to look at a third-party KPI reporting tool like Finagraph or Fathom? And then also, of course, taxes. If you're a tax preparer, do you use the Intuit Tax Online, ITO, or do you use a different system? Do you want to be able to export information to file taxes? Do you have sales tax, and does QuickBooks Online meet your sales tax filing needs? They have a whole tax module in there. So as you can see, there's all of these different areas that we need to look at when we're doing a needs assessment. And it might seem like a lot. I just said a lot of different things. But really, it's not that complicated. And I highly recommend downloading the slides for this webinar so that you have this page as a resource. You can evaluate all of these areas pretty easily. And generally, you can find some overlap. So bill.com, for example, we talked about for purchases and payables. Maybe you want to streamline the bill payment process and have those approvals logged online where you have a nice audit trail. Well, bill.com can also do AR. So you don't have to have a separate solution for each one of these. You need to decide, does QuickBooks Online meet all of these needs internally? And if it doesn't, find the areas that you need more support and then figure out what apps will overlap more than one of those areas so that you don't have 100 different things going on, but instead maybe you just have 2 or 3 things going on. Okay, so in today's connected world, there are many different ways that your clients could be handling sales and AR. Do they sell online? Are they subject to sales tax? Do they do volume discounts? How many locations do they have? We have all these different questions to ask when we're talking about sales. QuickBooks Online has some great features for automatic recurring sales receipts and automated invoice entry, as well as a beautiful online invoicing portal. Some things to keep in mind, though, QuickBooks Online does not support price levels at this time, and it currently has a workaround for progress invoicing. So if your client needs those features, you will need to evaluate third-party apps to support them. There are also some features in QuickBooks Online that do not exist in QuickBooks Desktop for purchases and accounts payable. One is the expense type transaction that helps clients differentiate between cash and check expenses. This new transaction type can be used on both your checking and credit card account. So hopefully your screen is big enough to see this screenshot here, which is actually kind of this one is actually of a check, but you can see, so this transaction type is a check, and we have the checking account. So on a check type transaction, you can only use bank accounts in the drop-down, right? So if you're familiar with QuickBooks Desktop, you write a check for a bank type account and you enter a credit card charge for a credit card account. Well, the expense type transaction includes both bank and credit card accounts in the drop-down. So it's really easy to switch a transaction if your client accidentally enters debit card expenses into a credit card register or vice versa. You can actually just change the account on the transaction instead of having to go out and delete all of the ones they did wrong and then recreate them in the other account. So that's pretty cool. And there are also basic job costing features in QuickBooks Online Essentials and Plus. But remember, while QuickBooks Online Simple Start allows you to record expenses, it does not have the AP module. So if you need accounts payable, you cannot really use Simple Start because it does not support it. So you can enter expenses, but you cannot enter bills. And then again, job costing for purchases is available in QBO Essentials and Plus, but running the job costing reports, you have slightly less capabilities in QuickBooks Online than you would in QuickBooks Desktop. So if you have a client that you think is just a great fit for QuickBooks Online and they do job costing, you really need to look at how they're running their job costing reports and decide if QuickBooks Online is going to offer you an alternate solution for running those reports. It will do job costing reports. However, in desktop, some people have really customized needs as far as reporting. So you really want to do testing before you do a conversion to make sure that you're not having any feature lack. And some things that are available in desktop may be available in QuickBooks Online, but maybe they're called something different, or you run the report differently, or it looks different, but it might still give you that end result that you need. And that's really just about getting it set up for your client properly and then training them on how to do it. And you can't really train them how to do it unless you're fully educated yourself, which is why Obviously, you guys know that. You're in this awesome webinar today. But again, it's why we really need to stay educated on all of the updates that come out in these systems. Because you never want to know less than your client about something that you're supposed to specialize in, right? Okay, inventory is an area that needs to be well examined before any accounting system conversion. QuickBooks Online supports FIFO inventory, which is first in, first out. So if your client needs a different costing method than you, excuse me, if your client needs a different costing method than FIFO, then you will have to look at a third-party solution. So do they need average cost? Do they need LIFO? Do they need FIFO? Third-party apps for inventory can be great to help keep your client out of the books and involved in their operations only. Group items and assembly items are not currently supported in QuickBooks Online, but you can always keep an eye out for future changes as QuickBooks Online integrates systems from other inventory platforms that it has purchased. So if you have been watching the inventory changes in QuickBooks Online, they acquired Lettuce. I'm not sure who else they've acquired, but they acquired Lettuce last year, I believe, which was an app that specialized in wholesale inventory. So they're working on integrating all of that into QuickBooks Online. I have no idea what the timeline for that is, but their inventory tracking features are ever evolving. So it's really important, again, to sign up for like the QuickBooks Online blog, where they publish the release notes like every 6 weeks or something, and that will help you stay up to date on the changes. So I'm going to pause for just a moment and check out the questions box here. It looks like we have a question from the user section that we were talking about, the 25 users plus 2 accountants for Plus. And again, I'm going to actually go into more detail about each one of the subscription levels as we go along. So each subscription level does have those 2 accountants that don't count in the company user count. And I'll show you that in plenty of detail as we go here today. Okay, so these needs assessment slides, again, these are just telling you different areas that you need to examine as you're doing the needs assessment. Do they need barcode scanning, things like that? So figuring out exactly what they need, cross-referencing, I swear, I did not have enough coffee this morning. I am having trouble talking. All right, so cross-referencing your needs assessment with what you know to be available in QuickBooks Online, and then finding anywhere where there's a gap and filling that need with a third-party solution. Okay, so moving on from inventory, let's talk about payroll. Your client's payroll needs will vary by state and industry. QuickBooks Online Payroll is built into QuickBooks Online and allows time card data to carry over onto the paycheck. So Intuit has a lot of different payroll offerings, right? We've got IOP4A, which is Intuit Online Payroll for Accountants, which many of us have probably heard of. It's been around a long time. And many times I see people confuse that with QBOP, which is QuickBooks Online Payroll. So the differences between those is IOP4A, or Intuit Online Payroll for Accountants, is a web-based payroll system that we as accounting professionals can sign up for, and we can serve all of our payroll clients on a hub. Okay, so that lives outside of QuickBooks Online, but we'll still sync the information back into QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online Payroll is a payroll subscription that lives inside of the QuickBooks Online company. Okay, so this is an internal payroll module that's inside of QuickBooks Online. So to access each one of these companies' payroll, you actually go into their QuickBooks Online, and then you access their payroll from there. Okay, so there are 2 different things there. And then we've also got things like Intuit Full Service Payroll, which is managed, again, outside of QuickBooks Online, but syncs information back. And then, of course, a plethora of other payroll services from many different companies. Some states and localities have complex reporting requirements that may not be a good fit for QuickBooks Online Payroll. Multi-state payroll can also be cumbersome, and things like prevailing wage and per diem can be difficult to track internally. So definitely know the limitations and features of these various payroll products before you put anybody on them, and make sure that everything works out. I'm in Washington State, for example. I don't know if we have anyone else on the line from Washington State. If we do, please let me know in the question box. But in Washington State, we have L&I, which is Labor and Industries Insurance, which is our version of workers' comp. So it's not treated the same way as workers' comp in most other states. We pay it to the state. It's got this weird percentage thing. And it's not very friendly with like workers' comp tracking for desktop. It doesn't even work with that. You have to set it up a totally different way. So if we have a client that has more than one L&I rate for one employee, we cannot actually use QuickBooks Online Payroll because it doesn't support that weird complexity of our state. So that's something that we have to know when we're choosing a payroll solution for our clients is, does this client have this funky L&I situation going on? And if they do, we either have to know that when we put them on and do the report manually, or we need to choose another solution that we have more control over. Okay, so I see another question that came in. Does the client buy the app or does the accountant buy the app? So it really depends on the app. We're having all these talks about different applications that you can integrate, and it kind of works both ways. So some apps have accountant hubs where you can see all of your accountants that use that, or excuse me, all of your clients that use that app all from one screen, which is awesome, like Bill.com. I log into Bill.com, and all of my clients that use Bill.com are right there on a list, just like when I log into QuickBooks Online. So then I can choose who I want to access. Sometimes, though, you'll have clients come to you that have already purchased an app themselves, so your access for that might be a little bit different. Now, you can choose to purchase apps on behalf of your client and then pay it and recoup the costs from your client, or you can choose to set up your client subscription to where they pay directly. I do both depending on the client. Some clients, when we do a conversion project or something, we'll just set up all of their stuff and have them enter all of their billing information because we won't be working with them regularly month to month. We're just converting and training and setting up. However, I have other clients where we do monthly services for them, where all of their subscriptions might be on my account, and I just take that cost and roll it into their invoice each month. Okay, another question we have here. Which is the best use of QuickBooks Online for a religious organization? They have a payroll component, and they have already purchased QuickBooks Online. So I use QuickBooks Online for churches. It actually works out quite well. There's various customization features you can use to change the terminology inside of the company file so that it's focused toward nonprofit. Like you can change the customer tab to say donors. It's actually pretty flexible. So I'm not really sure what specific answer you're looking for there on that question. But if you want to clarify a couple specific things, then we can get back to that kind of as we go here. All right, moving forward with the needs assessment here. We've got reporting requirements. So I talked about this a little bit already. Reporting capabilities in QuickBooks Online get more robust as you go up in the subscription level. It makes more sense that with more features, you also have more ways to report. So here's a little summary here. We've got Online Simple Start has over 20 reports. So we can see we've got AR reports there, basic financial reports, etc. But notice we don't have any AP reports because there is no AP tracking in Simple Start. Remember we talked about that earlier. So we have some expense reports, sales reports. We can track our sales tax and everything there. And there's even cash flow reports in Simple Start. So that's pretty cool. Cash flow is very important. Now when we move up to QuickBooks Online Essentials, now we have all of those reports in Simple Start plus more. So now we have over 40 reports. Now we've got those AP reports, those bill reports. We've even got the cool company snapshot and company scorecard report, which are pretty cool, like interactive reports. They're pretty neat. We've got additional reports for vendors and customers, some great things going on in there. Now when you go up to the top tier, QuickBooks Online Plus, now you've unlocked all of the features and reporting capabilities of QuickBooks Online. So now you have over 65 reports. Now you've got budgets because QuickBooks Online Plus has budgets. We'll talk about that as we go here. You've got class reports because now we have class and location tracking in QuickBooks Online Plus. Again, the collections report, which is available in all 3 tiers. But now look at all of the additional reports that we get now that we have class, location, and inventory. Now we've got POs, so we've got all of these different inventory reports, tons of extra things going on there. And remember, in QuickBooks Online Plus, we have reports-only users, so those additional reports-only users can access all of this information without actually being able to touch the data. Okay, last slide for needs assessment here. Some other considerations. So in addition to what we've already discussed, there are other features that you need to assess for your clients before making a QBO subscription recommendation. For example, we just had that question about ways to use QuickBooks Online for a religious organization. So budgets, they probably need a budget. Budgets are only available in QuickBooks Online Plus. Also tracking categories. QuickBooks Online Plus offers class and location tracking. So again, referencing the nonprofits. If you have fund accounting that you need to do, so many churches have general and dedicated funds, as well as various other things going on, you're going to need that class tracking in order to track all of that money and where it's going, where it's supposed to be applied to. Also, multiple currencies, that is not currently supported in QuickBooks Online. So does your client need multi-currency? You're going to have to figure out how to manage that in QuickBooks Online. And I know there's plenty of articles about how to deal with those situations. So you have to research that and decide, okay, is there a workaround that I can use to deal with this, or do I need to look at something else? Also, we talked about this a little bit. Does your client already use other applications that need to sync with QuickBooks Online? So maybe they're using QuickBooks Desktop or another accounting system, or maybe they're not even really using an accounting system, but they're using a third-party app to run their business operations in. If their business is completely dependent on that app, you need to decide, okay, does this sync with QuickBooks Online? And if it doesn't, that's okay. How difficult is it for you to pull the data that you need out of that system and manually enter it into QuickBooks Online? Or is there a bridge that you can install that will pull the data from one system and put it into the other? So everything does not necessarily have to sync seamlessly. As long as the time you save and the efficiency you gain by using that third-party product is more than the time that it takes you to get the data into QuickBooks Online, it's still a good decision. But it's ultimately up to you to be sure that you're familiar enough with your client's operations to get a clear view of their needs. Next, we're going to go into the details of each QuickBooks Online subscription level and the features. But first, we will take a moment to put up our CPE keyword for today, and that is HAT. So make sure you take this down. HAT, H-A-T. We've got a nice looking sombrero for you there today. So make sure you take that down. And again, at the end of the webinar, we'll put up a poll, and you'll check the box next to the word HAT to qualify for your CPE credit today. Okay, so hopefully we've all got this down. HAT, H-A-T. And now we'll jump into the second half of our webinar and talk about more of these subscription levels in detail. Also, feel free to put your questions in that question or chat window as we go, and I'll just pop that open and try to answer those as we go. All right, now let's dive into the 3 subscription levels of QuickBooks Online. You can see here that there are 2 price levels noted. If you're not familiar with wholesale pricing, this is a pricing package available to accounting professionals to pay the subscription fees for their clients at a rate below the retail price. So like someone asked earlier about do you pay or does your client pay? With QuickBooks Online, you can choose to pay on behalf of your client, or you can have the client pay directly. So if the client pays directly, it's going to be that MSRP. And if you are paying on behalf of the client, you can add them to your wholesale billing package and pay that lower rate for them. Now, the way wholesale billing works is all of your clients that are on wholesale billing are billed at the same time every month, and it just comes out of your account. So you set up your wholesale billing account with Intuit, and then each month they take the payment for all of your clients at one time. So if you have 10 clients on a $20 plan, you're going to get charged one time for $200. Now, when you have someone on wholesale billing, it's up to you if you want to just bill the client that price of the wholesale billing and extend that discount to them. Maybe you just want to bill them up front for the whole year and just have them pay you each year for an annual subscription. You'll still be paying each month, but you can just have them pay you a year up front so you don't have to deal with it every month. You can also choose to mark it up or include it in your value billing. So if you're using value billing and you just want to charge a flat, $500 a month for something, you can just say that includes your QuickBooks Online subscription and just have that rolled up with all of your services. Okay, So let's see, where am I at here? The starter subscription level in QuickBooks Online Simple Start is $12.95 a month. There is no wholesale pricing available for QuickBooks Online Simple Start, so whether you pay or your client pays, it's $12.95 a month. The middle tier is QuickBooks Online Essentials, which is $26.95 a month for your client, or $18.87 wholesale. And then the top tier, QuickBooks Online Plus, which unlocks all of the available features in QBO, is $39.95 for your client and $27.97 for wholesale. None of these prices include payroll. Okay, so payroll is additional. I don't believe I have the pricing for that here because I feel like it changes all the time and it kind of just depends on the discount. I do know that wholesale pricing, the last time I checked, also included payroll in the discount. So you can get a really good price on payroll because that can get spendy. You can get a great price on payroll by keeping your client on wholesale billing. Now, something important to know is you cannot downgrade. So if you buy Plus, you can't go down to Essentials. So it's best to start at the lower tier and work your way up. We only have a couple of clients on Simple Start. We generally start people out on Essentials, but it is a good idea. You can start at Simple Start, and then you can move your way up. And the reason that we generally start at Essentials is we don't have very many clients that only need one company user. And then most of our clients want to also track AP. So definitely know the differences between them all. And then if you decide that you're lacking some features that you want, you can always move them up to the next level. I did see somebody the other day on one of the accounting social media groups that was saying they put everybody on Plus because they didn't know the differences, and they just figured if they got Plus, they'd have everything that they could possibly need. And that's great in theory, right, making sure you have all the features, but you could be, your client could be paying more than they need to, and they might not be utilizing half the features that are in there. So definitely know the differences, start at the bottom, work your way up. So our first tier, QuickBooks Online Simple Start, comes with one company user, like we discussed earlier. But remember, each level of QuickBooks Online is still allowed 2 accountant users in addition to the company user. So you've got the one one company user, which in Simple Start would be the master admin, and then you've got 2 accountant users that you can invite to access your file through QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online Simple Start will allow you to connect your bank accounts and credit cards through the bank feeds. You can also process estimates and invoices, record expense transactions, and print checks. You can import your desktop data within the first 60 days, and you can import list data from Excel. Simple Start will allow you to integrate with third-party solution providers on apps.com, and again, it has just over 20 reports. Again, there is no accounts payable module in QBO Simple Start, so if your client wants to track outstanding bills and bill payments, then this may not be the best solution for them. Now, QuickBooks Online Essentials is the middle tier product and comes with more features than Simple Start. You now get 3 company users in addition to the 2 accountant users, and you have an accounts payable module for tracking open bills. There are features in this level for delayed charges, which is where you can enter charges without affecting your financial statements to be invoiced at a later date. So again, delayed charges is a delayed charge is a non-posting transaction, basically like a post-it that you put in your books that says, hey, I have this charge that I need to add to an invoice for my client later. I'm just going to put that here so I don't forget. And then later when you create the invoice, you can add it. So that's pretty cool. There are over 40 reports in the subscription level, including those business oversight reports that we talked about earlier, like the business scorecard. So now remember, 3 company users now and 2 accountant users. So one of those company users is going to be your master admin, and the other 2 can be customized to be company administrators where they can access everything, or you can restrict their access to things like just the customer information or just the vendor information, or whatever. And you can go in there and play with it and see what those different restrictions are. QuickBooks Online Plus is the top tier product and unlocks all of the available features in QuickBooks Online. You have 2 additional tracking features available in QuickBooks Online Plus, which is class and location. The FIFO inventory module allows you to manage inventory and purchase orders on a first-in, first-out basis. You can manage budgets by class or account, and Plus even has a quick button to create 1099s at the end of the year. So again, the 1099 button is only available in QuickBooks Online Plus. There are 5 company users included with the standard QBO Plus subscription. So right when you sign up, you get those 5 company users. Again, 1 will be the master admin. The other 4 you can customize. And if you need more than 5, you can have up to 25 for an additional fee. And I think that they come in groups of 5, but I'm not 100% sure on the pricing on that. There have been some pricing changes that have been going on, so I apologize I don't have that for you. I'm sure you can Googleize it if you need the answer for that. QuickBooks Online Plus also allows for unlimited time tracking and unlimited reports-only users. So again, those time tracking users have access to the time card, which may or may not be used with payroll. If it is used with payroll, their time cards will flow over onto the paychecks. And then again, reports-only users. So that reports-only user will only have access to the reporting module where they can go in, they can drill down, run reports, but they cannot actually zoom into any transactions. They can't open a transaction and modify it. We like to call that the look but don't touch user, and that's great for that client you have that wants to go in and poke around and look at stuff but always hits the wrong button or tries to be helpful, right? We all have that super helpful client that tries to do something for you. It spends you twice, you have to spend twice as long fixing it than they did to mess it up in the first place. All right, so I'm going to pause for just a moment, look at our little question stuff over here. Okay, so let's see. We've got a question about price changes. If you start at $26.95 and it goes up, then does the wholesale go up? I'm not sure what the question is here. So if you are signed up at a certain price, that price will stay the same. And then the wholesale, like if you're already signed up and the price changes, your pricing will still stay the same, I believe. Now, if you start at the Essentials plan and then move up to the Plus plan, then yes, your wholesale billing will change as well. So if you start on Essentials, your wholesale billing is $20 or whatever, and then you move up to Plus, whatever your price, whatever the wholesale price for Plus is what your wholesale billing will increase by. Hopefully I answered that. If I didn't, just clarify a little bit and ask me again. Okay, what if customers are enrolled on different dates? Say one starts on the 1st and the second on the 29th. Will it charge both at the same rate at the end of the first month? So yes, everyone's billed on the same day of the month. Not sure how prorating works for that. I don't really pay that much attention to that, I guess, because it's so cheap. I think if you sign them up in the middle of the month, their billing will just come out with everybody else's at the end of the month. But that's a good question. I'm not really sure how prorating for wholesale billing works. I guess I should get more educated on that. I just throw everybody on, and they all get billed at the same time. Okay, a discount for Essentials, $9.99 wholesale for the life of the subscription. So yes, like I said earlier, there are some pricing changes that are going on right now, or there were just some pricing changes. So we're kind of in a flux state at the moment. The pricing that I have in this deck is the most recent pricing as of 2 weeks ago when I verified it. But there are always specials going on. So this question is about a discount for Essentials being less. Yeah, depending on the day that you check, the pricing is different. So they run discounts all the time, and they run specials all the time. So on any given day, who knows what the price is going to be, but this is the basic pricing, the standard pricing. So you might get it for less, but it shouldn't cost you more. Okay, if your client gets QuickBooks Online with Payroll, do you have access to their payroll to assist them through QuickBooks Online Accountant? Yes, so if you are an accountant user on a QuickBooks Online company, and that QuickBooks Online company has a payroll subscription through QuickBooks Online Payroll, you have access to that payroll module when you sign in through QuickBooks Online Accountant. So as an accountant user, you have access to everything. There's no restrictions when you log in. Okay, another one, wholesale, I thought wholesale was 50% of the regular, and your prices are different. The whole pricing is confusing, and I think it keeps changing. So yes, again, the pricing is in flux. It is 50%. Wholesale billing is, about 50% of whatever the published price is. But when you're signing new clients up, if you're signing them up through QuickBooks Online Accountant, it tells you exactly what the price is. So it'll tell you what the MSRP price is, and it will tell you what the wholesale billing price is as you add new clients. And then if you are adding clients to wholesale billing, again, it'll tell you what they're paying, and it will tell you what it would cost if you switch them onto your wholesale billing. Okay, does the two accountant include you? Okay, so the two accountant users includes two accountants. So whether that's you and someone else, or whether that's two other accountants, it will only support two accountant users at any given time. So let's say that you are a CPA. So your job is to prepare taxes. You could be their one accountant user, and then if they have a bookkeeper, an outside bookkeeper, you could add them as the other accountant user. So you can have two accountant users that consist of whoever you want. So we're all accounting professionals on the line today. Theoretically, you would be one of the accountant users, and then whoever else needed access to their books would be the second one. Okay, this says, my client purchased QuickBooks Online. How can I tell which version of QuickBooks they have? Well, there's two ways. If you're in the third generation of QuickBooks Online Accountant, you can see their version from the client detail page. If you're not, which I'm going to assume that you're not because a lot of people have not been converted yet, you can go to the gear icon in the top corner and click on Manage Subscription. That's where you can see your billing information, you can see the rate that they're paying, and you can see the subscription level that they have. Okay, can you switch from purchasing QuickBooks from your accountant to purchasing QuickBooks the way you've explained? I'm not sure what you're asking. If you could clarify that for me, I'll try to answer it. Does Simple Start have recurring entries and memorized transactions? That is a really good question. Let me go back and look. My clients on Simple Start don't use those. Let me see. Automatic invoicing. So yes, it does. Wait, I'm on Essentials. Let me go back. Simple Start. I don't actually know the answer to that question. Let me see if maybe it's in another slide in our deck here. I rarely use Simple Start. I have like 3 clients on it. But I'm guessing that since we don't have it listed as a feature here, and we do have it listed as a feature here, I don't think it does. So this automatic invoicing on this slide is the recurring transactions. But I'll look at that and see. But I'm pretty sure the answer is no. I'm pretty sure Simple Start does not support that. But I'm not affirming that for sure. So I'll check that out before we get off the line today. Okay, so let's keep moving forward here. QuickBooks Online feature is not available in desktop. So the automatic invoicing and sales receipts, which we just talked about being in QuickBooks Plus. The automatic emailing of reports, which is called a scheduled distribution, which if you are a QuickBooks Online Certified Pro Advisor, you have hopefully taken all of the training that's available for that test where we showed you all about how to set up scheduled distributions, as well as recurring invoicing and sales receipts, etc. We've got the audit log. So if you have used QuickBooks Desktop, you know that we have the audit trail report. Excuse me. In QuickBooks Online, we have the audit log, and they really fit their name. So if anyone here has had to research the audit trail report in QuickBooks Desktop, you know that it really is a trail. You're walking through thick woods looking for breadcrumbs that are lost in piles of leaves, essentially, when you're looking through the audit trail report. Well, the audit log is more like something the captain of the ship would keep. Every moment, every step, every move made is charted and logged, so it's really easy to search and find information. It's great. I love it. We also have multiple AR and AP lines in one journal entry, which again is not something that you can do in desktop. You can have multiple budgets, again by class or account, so you can have more than one budget going all the time. We also have service dates, which actually I believe is a customizable column for invoices in QuickBooks Desktop, but they're just run a little bit differently in QuickBooks Online. So in QuickBooks Desktop, we have that customized column on invoices, but in QuickBooks Online, we actually have a field where you can just check the box to have service dates instead of having it be customized. So it's actually an internal field that's built into the system instead of being a custom field that you would have to add to a form. So that's pretty cool. And then again, delayed charges, we talked about that. The non-posting Post-it note that you can basically put in there to add charges to an invoice at a later date. Okay, now let's look at some features that are in desktop that are not in QuickBooks Online. And actually, before I go through that, let me look at the questions window and see if we got any questions on that last piece of information there. Oh, doesn't look like we did. Good. Okay, so features that they do have in desktop that are not in QBO. Now, this is important because if your client requires these features in order to be in business, you either have to choose to host their QuickBooks desktop data, not switch to QBO, or switch to QBO and have a sufficient third-party app implementation that will fill the need. So again, the cloud offers us some awesome solutions. It's also important to know what limitations we currently have in QBO. So keep in mind that even though these features do not currently live natively in QuickBooks Online, there are many cloud-based third-party apps that can be integrated to solve the issues. So again, inventory. QBO uses FIFO, which is first in, first out inventory method. There are no group or assembly items in QuickBooks Online. Progress invoicing requires a workaround. There are no sales order forms in QuickBooks Online at this time. The form customization features are different and may restrict your client's unique customization. So if your client has a custom invoice form that they are diehard about keeping, it doesn't mean you cannot switch them to QuickBooks Online. It just means you need to figure out how to get their form to work. And I'll offer you a solution for that. There are many third-party app systems that do AR follow-up. So basically they pull your AR from QBO and then they follow it up, or you can send it over to them. And they'll do things like automatic email reminders, blah, 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 and track your AR for you. Some of them will even do phone calls and things like that. Now what's awesome about those systems is that they're new and they're trying to grow. And so they do things for you that maybe Intuit is less interested in doing, which is allowing you to make your own crazy customized invoice form that they'll send to your clients for you. One example I believe is I believe Invoice Sherpa will do that for you. So call them and ask them, and if they tell you they don't, just say, well, Katie told me that you did, so you should do it for me anyway. And then if they have a problem with that, they can call me and yell at me. But definitely, Invoice Sherpa, I think, will do it. So you can have your own customized invoice form, use a third-party app, so now you're solving two problems. You're keeping your client's customized form, and you're offering them a solution to do automated AR follow-up so that they can have more time to do other things like grow their business instead of trying to get paid. So that's pretty cool. Two birds with one stone there. Also, the job costing. Again, there is job costing in QuickBooks Online. However, at this point in time, the job costing does not allocate the payroll. So we don't have proper payroll costing without making some manual entries. Again, the templates for forms, the industry-specific reports like we have in Premier, different versions of Premier Desktop. We don't have those in QuickBooks Online yet. Sales orders, already talked about that. Price levels, and also another thing to look at is sales reps. So you can add a custom form for sales reps in QuickBooks Online, but the way that that sales rep data is tracked is not the same as it is in desktop. I've run my business out of QuickBooks Desktop since the beginning. I just loaded my information onto QuickBooks Online last week. And the reason that it's taken me so long to make the change is I have a very complex sales rep tracking report that I use in QuickBooks Desktop because I track where all of my business comes from by referral source. So even though I have the option to add a customized sales rep field to sales forms in QBO, it doesn't actually produce the same type of report that I run in QuickBooks Desktop. So I had to take the time to figure out how I was going to get around that. I can achieve my goal with class tracking, but before I implemented that, I needed to make sure that by using class tracking, I wasn't going to take away from any future tracking that I would want to use that feature for. Does that make sense? So even when you're looking at something where you're like, oh, I can use this, you really need to think about, why are you choosing that method? And if you choose that method, is that going to prevent you from doing anything else that you may need to do in the future? Like class tracking is where I see people go wrong most of the time. They're like, oh, we can use classes for that. Well, yeah, you can, but like we say in most of these webinars, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, right? Um, so really have the future in mind when you're looking at that, because it is not fun to have to change what you're using class tracking for and still retain the data, the tracking data, for the reason that you implemented it in the first place. Wow, that was a really confusing sentence, but hopefully you guys get the point. Let's move forward here. So like we've been discussing, there are many third-party applications to solve for problems that your clients have that QBO does not address. Sometimes your client can benefit more from a third-party app that allows them to run their operations more efficiently than they can from optimizing QuickBooks internally. Having your client run their business in a separate, industry-specific solution also gives you more control of the accounting data and can help prevent recurring errors. You can find apps vetted by Intuit at apps.com or by clicking on the Apps tab from the left side navigation in QuickBooks Online. So there are many, many apps that are industry-specific, all for various industries. Now, what I love about implementing an industry-specific third-party app that does all the things the client needs to run their business in their daily operations is that it keeps them the heck out of their accounting data. So if they push the wrong button in their industry-specific construction management app, I don't really care, because that's their problem. They can fix it. I can help them with it. But they didn't just completely screw up their financial reports for the month, and I don't have to redo a whole lot. So I'm a big fan of the apps and add-ons. All right, let's look at our questions box again and see where we're at here. Okay. Just check this out. Does payroll allocate to class tracking? Yes, you can allocate payroll. Actually, you know what? Let me think about that. There were recently some changes to the way that the class and location tracking work. I believe that you can allocate time by class. I'm not 100% sure how that carries over on payroll, because it's a little bit different than desktop. So if you're familiar with running payroll in desktop with enhanced payroll, we've got lines for the different pay rates, right? So we've got a line for, you know, whatever pay rate 1, pay rate 2, etc. And on that line, you can assign a workers' comp code or a customer job or a class or whatever. Well, in QBOP, it's a little bit different. You have one line for employee, and you have boxes that you put the hours in for the different pay types. So you cannot assign a class by line on the paycheck. However, you may be able to assign a class per paycheck, which may or may not be helpful to you. But of course, you can always do journal entry class reallocations, which is very common and really not that complicated. So if you have the need to class track on payroll, the question is, does each employee have a class? Does each check have a class? Or do you actually need to use multiple classes on one paycheck, which I don't believe is an option at this point in time. Okay, we've got a question about QBO linking with Start Church. I have no idea if those two things link. I would go to apps.com and look up the app that you're trying to sync and see if it's vetted by Intuit. You can find tons of apps on the internet that link with QuickBooks Online. I highly recommend only choosing apps that you find on apps.com, because those have been vetted by Intuit. We will not sync a third-party app that doesn't have an Intuit vetting, just because, I don't know, we're stuck up. I'm not really sure. Just to make sure that they've gone through, you know, the hoops, and, you know, they have all the bells and whistles for security and everything that Intuit requires. There's a lot of things like Zapier that will sync two things together. Again, make sure that whatever you're using is vetted by Intuit so that you're keeping your client's financial data secure. Is there any place that tells us what the particular apps pertain to or do? Or do we have to vet each one? So this App Center right here that you're looking at, apps.com or the App Center from QBO, when you click on one of these apps, it's going to give you a description of the app. It's going to show you a video of the app, all of the reviews for the app, and a link to get a free trial. So all of the information that you need is on apps.com. But I'm going to tell you one thing right now. When you're scrolling through this view that you see here that has all these little captions, the captions are garbage. Like, luckily, on some of these, it's like I know what these different things do, And when I'm looking at these apps where I actually know what the app does and I read their little caption, their captions are terrible. So don't judge an app by its caption. The captions are terrible. Actually click on them and watch the little videos and then decide if you want to try it out. Okay, so we've got a couple more slides here. The QuickBooks Pro Advisor program, we'll take a moment to talk about that. I don't know if everyone on the line is a member already, but there are 2 tracks of the QuickBooks Pro Advisor program. You can sign up for free, which will give you free cloud support, and it will also give you access to the QuickBooks Online certification training and exam, as well as additional training resources. And once you become certified, you get a Pro Advisor listing, which will list you on the Find a Pro Advisor website. So the resources in this program can help you stay current on changes in QuickBooks Online so that you can make the best recommendations to your clients. So again, the QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor program for online clients gives you QuickBooks Online Accountant, a month free of Intuit Online Payroll. You get 5 free tax returns with Intuit Tax Online. Once certified, you get that Pro Advisor listing. You have access to chat and phone support. And then if you are a desktop Pro Advisor, which is the Pro Advisors that pay $549 a year to have all of the desktop software and support, you get all of these benefits plus the benefits of that program. And you can learn more here at proadvisor.intuit.com. We also just put out a new webinar that talks all about growing your practice with the Pro Advisor program. And we did that one last week. I believe it will be re-airing in April sometime, so always check back to intuitacademy.com and look at the different things that are available. I was trying to log into it this morning, and it looks like they were updating it. So if you go on there and don't see anything, just try back again tomorrow or later today. Okay, so be sure to stay on the line for a few more moments for the CPE Keyword poll so that you can get your CPE credit. But let's talk a little bit about QuickBooks Connect. Is there anyone on the line right now that went to QuickBooks Connect last year? If you have, please put in your chat window, let me know if you went. And if you did go, tell me what you thought about it. So QuickBooks Connect is an awesome event in San Jose that debuted last year. So now we have our second year, which will be in November. So it's at the San Jose Convention Center. It's really awesome because it's not just geared toward accounting professionals. They have accounting professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and developers. So there's 4 different tracks to this event. It was just really awesome. There were so many people, so much good conversation, so many cool things happening. So you can get education not just for yourself as an accountant, but you can also attend small business sessions. This is good for your clients to go to. It's totally worth it. And it was really affordable last year. So the registration has not yet opened for this event. You can go to qbcon2015.com to enter your information and be notified when registration opens. All right, so let's look at our summary for our webinar today. Again, our learning objectives were to be able to determine the needs of the client, understand different versions of QuickBooks Online, discover apps that are available, and identify when QuickBooks Online may not be the right answer for a client. So I'm going to put up our CPE keyword poll while I look at the rest of our questions here. So again, check the radio button next to the CPE keyword that we put at the middle of the webinar, and that will make you eligible for your CPE credit. Okay, so question here, can you continue to work with QuickBooks Online if you no longer work with the wholesaler? The answer is yes. So if you have a client on wholesale billing and then you're not working with that client anymore, you can kick them off at any time. So if you kick them off of wholesale billing, let's say that they haven't been paying their invoices, you don't want to deal with them anymore, you can kick them off, and then when they go to log into QuickBooks Online the next time, they'll get a pop-up that says they need to update their billing information. So you can kick somebody off of wholesale billing at any time. So I'm going to stay online for a couple more moments to type in the answers to all of the questions here in the chat window. Please make sure that you check the box on your CPE poll. And if you would like to download the questions, all of the answers are not typed in, but you can go to the file drop-down to download the questions. Or if you want to wait for a moment while I get all the answers typed in, you can do that as well. So again, if you have any more questions, I'm going to stay on the line for about 3 more minutes to type all these answers in, and you can feel free to ask anything else you want to ask. Okay, we had another question about the ProAdvisor listing. Does Gold get the listing or only Diamond? So for this question, I'm going to refer you to one of the ProAdvisor education webinars, because there's actually two ways that you can, you only get a listing if you have a certification. So once you get certified, you have to turn your listing on, but the Gold and Diamond support tiers work differently than the listing tiers. So definitely if you have questions about the way the ProAdvisor program works, I highly recommend the awesome webinars that are available. Question about if you no longer work with the accountant, can you still keep QuickBooks Online? So yes, like I was saying earlier, once you kick them off of wholesale billing, when the client goes to log in, or if you are a client and your accountant kicks you off, the client still owns, whoever is the master admin still owns that QuickBooks Online company. You can transfer the master admin to the client, and when they go to log in, they'll just be prompted to enter their billing information. Okay, and will the billing be the same? No. They will have to pay MSRP. So if you are off of wholesale billing, you will be MSRP, which is the standard retail price. You only get the wholesale billing rate if you're actively on an accountant's wholesale billing.